Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bookmakers Reviews coverage of a gripping Serie A season. Atalanta beat Napoli last time out, so Napoli have slipped down to third in the table. AC Milan are now top of the pile, and Inter just keep on winning. So they're only 1 point behind AC Milan, 1 point ahead of Napoli, and it's looking very, very tight and tense down there. So lots to get through today. We have 10 games to preview. I'm your host, Martin Green. I've got Matt Lawerence alongside me. We're going to deliver our analysis and our predictions about the weekend's games. So we will dive straight into Genoa versus Sampdoria, local rivals, taking part in the first game, which is it's the Friday night game. You normally get a pretty good, entertaining match on the Friday night games. Matt, do you think there was goals in this one?
Not really for me on this one, Martin. Just there very well could be. I mean, when you look at the head-to-heads, the last four between these two in all comps, I've seen both teams to score land. I really struggle with this one. Sampdoria have been inconsistent on the road, to say the least. Genoa are in really bad form right now. It's interesting that Sampdoria really they fare well against Genoa. They haven't been beaten by Genoa in 9 of their last 10 in Serie A. So that is something definitely to keep in mind here. I would be looking towards the road side with not a ton of confidence, but I think that's why maybe looking at the draw no bet market makes some sense on the road side here, but it's a pass for me.
Yeah, best price you can get is like 1.7 on Sampdoria draw no bet. I agree with you. I think that's the best option that you could go for here because, Genoa have only won one game all season and they're in terrible form. Sampdoria are the better team with more quality in attack. So, yeah, I think they could get a win, but I also, bit concerned that Genoa could steal a point. So perhaps if you want to put it in a parlay, go for that. But there's so many great games to look forward to in Serie A this weekend. I'm a bit surprised that they put that on Friday night, but I guess it's a local derby, so I'm sure the good people of Genoa will enjoy it. But we're going to move straight on to Fiorentina, who have been on fire in recent weeks. Fiorentina coming up against Salernitana, who are propping up the table, having a pretty poor season. They're not quite at Furt levels, but they do look a bit out of their depth in the top flight. Fiorentina beat Sampdoria 3-1 and then Bologna 3-2. So this is a team that's just banging in goals left, right and centre. Do you think they'll put a few past Salernitana at the weekend, Matt?
I do. I mean, that's the only way that I would be really looking here is trying to find a way to get Fiorentina onside. I mean, it could be halftime, full-time isn't too bad, around -110. I would be looking, just to kind of bet on Fiorentina's offense, really. I mean, maybe their team total at 2.4 over 2.5 goals. Finding a way maybe to get Vlahovic on side in some way, shape, or form. I mean, he's just on fire right now. It's just a big favorite role for Fiorentina that I'm not really accustomed to. Over -300 on Fiorentina just seems a bit steep. But like you mentioned, I mean, they are in great form. They've won their last 4 home matches, scoring 3 goals or more in those. So I think that the best option here is just to take the team total over 2.5 goals at +140. They're banging them in, like you said, Martin, and they're picking on a bad defense that's allowed 33 goals this season. So that's where I'd be looking.
Well, quite. And Salernitana do concede 2 goals per game on average on the road. Like I said, I do think they're a bit out of their depth in this division. Didn't spend a great deal in the summer after securing promotion. Coming up against the Fiorentina team that have just been so impressive in Florence. They have been turning teams over. I mean, the standout result is obviously the 4-3 win against AC Milan. But if you just look, they beat Sampdoria by 2 clear goals, beat Spezia by 3, beat Cagliari by 3. So Fiorentina are pretty good at beating up on the smaller teams in this division. They lost to, Juventus and Inter Milan in recent weeks. But when they've been coming up against lesser opposition, generally they've thrived, especially when they're at home. So I've just gone for Fiorentina to cover the spread at -1.5. I think they win this by 2 clear goals. I've got plus 100 on that, which is even money on this side.
That was a bet that you placed and won. Sorry to cut you off, Martin. That was a bet that you placed and won last week. AC Milan minus 1.5 against Salernitana. So I completely understand, singing from the same song.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I'm starting to do a bit more of just betting on teams to cover the line, because sometimes when you combine a favourite with a goals market, you can get caught out. At this time of year, I'm often not sure whether we're going to be sort of low-scoring wins or high-scoring wins. So if I do see one team as being much stronger than the other, at the moment I am inclined to just check out the Asian handicap lines. If I'm not quite confident enough for minus 1.5, I've been doing quite a lot of minus 1.25. So you only get a half loss if they only win by one goal. Yeah, I think I'll persist with that for a little while because it seems to be going pretty well. Okay, next up we are going to go to Venice. Beautiful city. They are taking on Juventus, which should be an interesting game. I mean, yes, Juventus lost to Atalanta, but they've won 4 of their other 5 matches to 0 in recent weeks, and they just beat Malmo to 0 in the Champions League in midweek to top their group, finished above Juventus. So I'm starting to think, Matt, that maybe Allegri's finally starting to stamp his authority and impose his will upon this Juventus squad and getting them back to that defensive pragmatism that worked so well during his first tenure at the club. Do you think they can grind out another low-scoring win against Venezia here?
I think so. Yes, I think that you were correct on Allegri. I mean, I think he's a fantastic manager, easily top 10 in the world for me, and he is starting to make his mark. And then, I mean, when you look at Venezia, I mean, 3-0 up last week against Verona, and they lose that match 4-3. Just ridiculous stuff.
What's the defender doing? If they're 3-1 up, the ball's going in anyway. He handles it. They put in the penalty, and then they're down to 10 men and they lose.
Oh my gosh! That is one of the biggest flip-flops of a result that I've really ever seen. I mean, it's horrible. I would be looking towards Juventus in some way, shape, or form. I know they're on the road. Like you said, Venice, the beautiful city. Maybe BMR, Martin, can send us to Venice sometime and cover matches like this.
Well, we are powered by the Wizard, so let's see if the Wizard can get out his magic and send us to Venice.
That'd be incredible. So, I'd be looking some way on Juventus. I just, the midweek clash against Malmo, just not really a spot that I'm that interested in at this kind of price. So I've swerved it. But, yeah, I mean, I think that, maybe both teams to score and Juventus to win looks kind of good. That's a bigger price. But, yeah, just really no interest on this game.
Okay, yeah, I haven't put this down as one of my picks either, but if I was going to go for something, and I might just have a little dabble on Juventus win to 0, actually, you can get sort of between about plus 100 and plus 115, depending on where you go for your odds. And like I say, they've only conceded once in their past 6 matches, Juventus. They've won 5 of those 6. So I do think they're looking a lot stronger defensively right now. Venezia are a good team going forwards. Leaky defence, obviously, but they are scoring fewer than a goal per game, and Juventus do have the second best defensive record in Serie A now. So this looks like the sort of game to me where they might be able to grind out like a 2-0 sort of win. Been seeing a lot of wins like that for Juventus in recent weeks, so that would be the way I would play it. Okay. Hola, Barca man. Hi to Edward and Ian. Great to have you both here, all 3 of you here. Everyone that's watching, great to have you here. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. It's brilliant to be here with BMR. Okay, next up we have Udinese versus AC Milan. This one's taking place in Friuli, and Udinese just sacked their manager. Gone. Run of 4 games without a win, 2 draws, 2 defeats, and he was axed. So they've they've just promoted his assistant to be interim manager. So I'm not sure if they're really going to get a new manager bounce, considering he's been there since the start of the 2020 to 21 season. So I'm not sure if it's going to be the sort of galvanizing impact that might be desired. AC Milan, like we said, top of the table, 2 wins on the bounce. What do you think, Matt? Are you going for an away win here, or are you swerving it?
I'm swerving the away win just because I'm a bit disappointed with what I've seen from Milan. I mean, I know that they're in. And here's the other thing too. I want to preface this with, I think it was actually a good thing that they got completely knocked out of Europe. Now they can put all of their eggs in this basket. They're at the top of the table. They've got to. I think that increases their chances by a good percentage, really. So. They shouldn't be. They need to pick themselves up, not be too down on themselves after that. Again, Liverpool played an extremely strong team, Martin. Like it's got a mix of teenagers and whatnot, but they still have some of their stars in there. Kanate looks brilliant. But back to this. I mean, Milan, yeah, they're in great form. They in Serie A at least. They've scored 2+ goals on the road. So they find a way to travel extremely well. And yeah, I know there's no real new manager bounce here, but I'm interested in both teams to score here. I think that Milan's defense is starting to look a bit leaky. Kjaer, out for a long time. And Udinese, I mean, they generally score goals. They find a way to find the back of the net. The last game against Genoa was a 0-0 at home, but I mean, just 3-1, 4-4, 2-1, 3-2. I mean, these teams generally get involved in goals. I think the Udinese score. I want to kind of pick on Milan and some of these Champions League teams in some way, shape, or form, and this is the way I'm going to do it. I think that Udinese score. I think that Milan score. Both teams to score yes for me.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about Liverpool tomorrow in our Premier League show, but Liverpool are coming up against Stevie Gerrard of Aston Villa fame now. I just don't. I don't understand why he bothered to risk Salah, Mane. If either of them have got, he's lucky that neither of them got injured. And if they're tired now for the weekend's game, because Aston Villa have had the week off, and if they don't beat Aston Villa, it will just be an error. But yeah, then again, they probably should beat Aston Villa, and it won't really matter too much. But I was surprised by that. Like you said, AC Milan do have a number of injury problems right now. Rebic, Giroud, and Leao all out up front, and Castillejo, David Calabria, the defender's out too. Kia, like you said. So they've got a lot of injury problems, and they do have a very young squad, don't they? I think they're a bit naive in the Champions League, but things seem to be going really well for them domestically. They have no problem crushing their domestic opponents. And I just think it might be a pretty good time to fade Udinese. They've been in poor form, got rid of their manager, haven't exactly brought in an exciting, dynamic new boss to steer the ship to calmer waters. And I do find the odds on an away win here to be very attractive. I know they haven't got a lot of bodies fit, but if you've got Ibrahimovic, Salamakers, Brahim Diaz, I think they should be able to put out a good enough team to just sneak a win against Udinese and keep their title bid on track. So I'm going for an AC Milan away win. Okay, next up we have Torino versus Bologna. Two decent teams that they're a bit unpredictable. I mean, Torino haven't won in 3 games, Matt. Bologna are poor on the road, and they kind of flip-flop between a good performance and a poor performance. So this was the easiest pass of the weekend for me. Have you got anything on this one?
I do. This is probably my least confident play, I would say, of the slate, but I've got a good feeling. I mean, Torino have been involved in some of these both teams to score matches. I mean, look at their last 2. Bologna, I mean, they generally score a goal for the most part. And I just feel like these two teams, I mean, when you look at the head-to-heads as well, 5 of the last 6 head-to-heads between these two have seen BTTS, yes, land. So they generally get involved in these up and down matches, both teams, finding the back of the net and swinging momentum and those type of matches. So yeah, I'm on both teams to score a yes here at -115. I just think it's a good spot. I think this could easily end 1-1, and that would be enough for me to cash this bet. So I'm going to go both teams to score yes.
Yeah, well, there'll be some good forwards on the pitch, won't there? I don't know if Arnautovic is going to be back in time, but Musa Barrow, what a strike from Musa Barrow against Fiorentina. If he's banging them in like that, and then obviously you've got Belotti on the other side, yeah, it seems like a pretty sensible way to go. Both teams to score does often pay when Bologna are playing, and Torino have been involved in quite a lot of open games recently too. Okay, we are just looking at the picks here. Barcaman's going half-time draw in that game. That sounds good. Ian's going for a full-time draw. What else have we got? Barcaman's got Milan team totals 1.5 at 1.95. Like that. Ian's going for Juventus and under 3.5 goals. Yeah, like that one a lot. Maybe get the wizard to get the spam out of the chat there. Okay, but we're going to move on to Verona versus Atalanta. This is the big game of the weekend for me. I know we've got some bigger teams perhaps, but Atalanta, just such a wonderfully entertaining team. Top scorers in Serie A for the last 3 seasons, but their poor defensive record has prevented them from winning the league. I think Verona are just doing their best impression of Atalanta, like a mini Atalanta. I think, 32 goals scored and 28 conceded in 16 matches so far. They're just coming off that madcap 4-3 victory over Venezia in the derby. And these are just two teams that love to attack, both struggle defensively. Atalanta have to play tonight because their game against Villarreal was moved due to bad weather. So they're going to be tired. They'll concede, I think. But obviously they can rotate their attack because they've got Muriel, Ilicic and Zapata. So they should get on the score sheet. So both teams to score over 2.5 goals looks like the easiest bet of the weekend, Matt.
I agree. I think it's the best bet of the weekend. This is, 2-unit type of banker material for me. Kind of picking on a Champions League team that's now in the Europa League Thursday night spot because of the suspended match last night, which is pretty wild that they actually did that. Huge match today. I've got Atalanta. I've got both teams to score an over 2.5 tonight. And I think that this is a great spot now for Verona. I mentioned last week that Simeone and Vlahovic, like those guys would be good ones to take on an anytime goal scorer. They both came in. We talked about Muller and the Champions League, Martin. We're kind of firing right now. And I think that this one sets up for just fireworks. Like you mentioned, Atalanta can rotate the front line. And I definitely see Verona getting on the score sheet here. I really wouldn't want to be backing Atalanta in this one as a money line option. I think that just kind of steering clear, taking both teams to score, and over 2.5 goals, not really caring who wins is the way to go here. Because I could see Verona pulling off a shocker. They're feeling good after a huge comeback last week. So, yeah, both teams score over 2.5. Easiest bet of the week, and also, I think, the best bet of the slate.
Yeah, me too. Couldn't agree more. It's a great bet, especially a great bet for Serie A and the Bundesliga. It's the artist formerly known as Alex Classic. It's both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. And it has cashed in 11 out of 16 Verona games so far this season. That's outrageous. I think both teams to score has paid off in 14 of their 16 games. And they're coming up against Atalanta, who are the kings of both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. If this doesn't come off, let's just hang our heads and just forget about it. Let's go and bet on something else. Let's go and bet on basketball instead. But Ian's pushing it even further. Ian's going both teams to score and over 3.5 goals. Yeah, don't see why not. Barcaman's got Atalanta double chance and both teams to score. Yeah, I think Atalanta can get a result despite, having to play tonight. It's just the question of how tired they're going to be. But they do have a big squad, so they can rotate a few players. Should be a great game. Can't wait to watch it. Next up, Matt, we've got another 2 entertaining teams in Sassuolo versus Lazio. Should be another great game.
I'm going singing from the same song on this one. I love, I was on Sassuolo team total last week. I've been on the Sassuolo train in the sense of just them scoring goals, like not really getting on them in money line situations. I mean, I have at times, but really just taking their total goals. I mean, they are finding the back of the net, needless to say. I mean, they've scored over 1.5 goals in their last 5. So they're just rolling offensively. Their defense is leaky. So again, you put it all together, and then you look at Lazio's matches as well. I mean, they generally get involved in high scoring matches. It's not always in this both teams to score, but I'm confident in Sassuolo's offense to be able to score. So you put it all together, both teams to score over 2.5 goals. It's a shorter price than the Verona match, which is why I probably like the Verona Atalanta match just a bit more, just because of the odds. But yeah, BTTS, yes, over 2.5. I found it at -139. At Shop Around for your odds. I like this one a lot.
Oh, I did find this. I'm doing the same bet. I did find it. I sent my tips over yesterday to the Wizard, and I got it at -125. So I put you down for -125. But yeah, it may be a case that the odds have dropped. But do shop around for your odds, and you might not find it at an odds comparison site. So you might need to check out a few sports books and use the same game parlay builder tool to find who has the best lines. But yeah, you should be able to get pretty close to 1.8, I reckon, if you go for it. And I like that bet a lot too. Just two more really entertaining teams. You know, like I mentioned earlier, Lazio recently involved in a 4-4 draw. They've been leaking goals, but you know they score goals as well. So yeah, it should be a really entertaining game. Love that one. Okay, next up, Napoli versus Empoli. Can Napoli get their faltering season back on track? 1 win in 5 games after a blistering start to the season. It's all starting to fall apart a bit for Napoli, Matt. This looks like a good spot to get things right against newly promoted Empoli, but Empoli unbeaten in 3 matches. So what do you see? Can Napoli win this?
Something's got to give. Yeah, something is wrong with Napoli right now, and we know what it is. They don't have the squad depth as some of these other sides, really. I mean, losing Osimhen, is a huge blow for the next couple months, where other teams like Inter, Atalanta, even AC Milan, Juventus, like they would have a decent striker to come in and still lead the line. And that's not to say that Napoli don't. I mean, they have great goal scorers, but they're not really that number 9 that you're looking for, like they had with Osimhen. Somebody that you can that can hold up the play and find pacey wingers like Insigne and Mertens on the break, things like that. I mean, it's a huge loss for them. Looking at the head-to-heads, Napoli dominate. I know that Empoli are just coming up, but 6 straight for Napoli in this fixture. But I did swerve this one. I would be looking to find a way to get on Napoli, team total, something like that. But I just didn't have a great feel for this. I could definitely see Empoli scoring. Their last 6 matches have seen both teams to score. So it's almost to me like I would rather have just both teams to score and over 2.5, not really care who wins. It probably ends up being Napoli, but yeah, I could see them faltering again. So I wouldn't necessarily want to be on Napoli here. And yeah, I think that BTTS, yes, over 2.5, just like the matches before, kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think they've also, I don't know if he's going to be back, but Anguissa, the guy on loan from Fulham, has been pretty impressive for them in the early weeks of the season, and I think they've missed having him to screen the defence. Fabian Ruiz is also out injured, so they look a bit lightweight in midfield, certainly against Atalanta. Yeah, I don't like Napoli as well at the moment, especially at the odds that they're currently being offered against the team that are unbeaten in 3 matches. Don't like it at all. I mean, I think Napoli will probably win, but it's just a question of trying to find value on it, really. Is anyone coming out with anything in the chat? Barca man's going Napoli to win and both teams to score, or Napoli -1.5 Asian handicap. Edward thinks that Napoli are going to beat Leicester today. Yeah, could do. Hey, Vivica Crystal, Tancredi would be a good. Yeah, we've got to go and find Tancredi. I'm not sure where he is at the moment. We'll have to go and find him at some point. Okay, so next up we have got Inter versus Cagliari. This is a bit of a mismatch, Matt. Inter, champions, 1 point off the top of the table, look pretty likely to go on and win the title. I mean, they're by far the strongest team for me in the division right now. Coming up against the Cagliari side that are languishing in the relegation zone with just 1 win in 16 matches. Not looking great, is it? I mean, how do we find value on this one, though? Are you going for anything?
That's where it's tough to find. It's tough to find the value. And so I've swerved it. I think that Milan find a way here. But I mean, look at Cagliari a little bit. I mean, they've scored in 4 of their last 5. I mean, they generally find the back of the net. It's just their defense is so poor. I would probably be looking at BTTS, yes, and Inter to win, but this was a pretty easy pass for me. I couldn't find the value. I'm not sure, if it's Inter to score in both halves or Inter halftime, full time. I just really couldn't pick it out. So I've just left it. But something tells me that Cagliari can still score in this one and then Inter, get the full 3 points.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't really have anything that I liked too much, but then in the end I did. I have a little bet on Inter to win to 0, which kind of goes against what you're saying. But I know they lost to Real Madrid in midweek, but they did win their previous 4 matches to 0. Roma couldn't score against them, and I do think Cagliari could get dominated a bit in this game. I don't think they'll see a great deal of the ball. So odds of +115. I'm having a little go on Inter to win to 0, but maybe based on what Matt said there, maybe you can hedge your bets a little bit with a smaller stake on Inter to win and both teams to score. That'll just cover you just in case Cagliari do get on the score sheet. But
yeah, I'm just looking at the head-to-heads, Martin. Yeah, I mean Inter 1-0 in the last head-to-head. But
in April.
Prior to that, I mean, 6 out of the last 7 really have been both teams to score yes. So it's a tricky one. It's not one that I want to get involved with, but I mean, I can see this one going either way, really.
Okay, yeah, but Inter winning naturally. Arsenal's going for Inter. Is that -1 Asian handicap in the first half? I think that is at 206. Sounds good. And Inter to win both halves at 2.18, which is +118 in American odds. Yeah, don't see why they can't win both halves in that game. Okay, the final one is Roma versus Spezia, which is taking place on Monday night. So we've basically got 4 days of Serie A action to look forward to. This has to be a game in which Roma get back to winning ways, Matt. They've lost 2 on the bounce. They've slipped down to 7th in the table. The special one, he's not looking so special at the moment, is he? Can he rub some special sauce all over this game?
He needs to. I just don't think that Roma, they don't really have the finances. They don't really have the squad that Jose Mourinho is wanting. So it's going to be interesting how much money he spends in January and in the summer. He loves to blow some cash, Martin. That's for sure. This one is tough. I mean, Spezia generally get involved in some up and down matches. They generally score. I don't really trust this Roma defense, even though I love, the defense-minded Jose Mourinho. I mean, they can't keep clean sheets, though. And, I mean, look at the last 3 head-to-heads of these. I mean, 4, 7, 4. It's just so... 15 goals in the last 3 head-to-heads between these two. I think both teams score. But then, I mean, when you're looking at Spezia, they've lost their last 5 on the road in halftime and full-time. So I wouldn't talk anyone off of a Roma halftime, full-time, and they really need to bounce back here. But I think Spezia score. Both teams to score, yes, might make my card later in the week.
Okay. Yeah, I think Roma win this game. I think they're going to beat Spezia. I think this is the time for them to return to winning ways against a relegation-threatened team that have already lost 10 out of 16 matches this season. The problem I do have with Roma is the injuries. Tammy Abraham's suspended, and then you've got Al Shawari's injured, Athena Jan's injured, and the captain, Lorenzo Pellegrini, who's their creative sparks, injured. So I can't see them putting 4 goals past Spezia in this game. They may well concede, but I think they win it and under 4.5 goals. So that's my play. Roma to win, under 4.5 goals, minus 115. And on that note, time please for the wizard to bring up the picks. Okay, so there we go. I got 6 here. I had to restrain myself a little bit. There was so much I liked this weekend. I didn't even put Juventus in there, but I've gone for a straight win for AC Milan. I got Fiorentina minus 1.5 plus 100. I've got both teams to score in over 2.5 goals at minus 120 in that Verona versus Atalanta game. Yeah, you can actually get minus 115 on that now, which Matt's got. I got minus 125 on Sassuolo. Lazio, both teams to score in over 2.5 goals. Little stake on Inter win to 0, but you can hedge it with Inter to win and both teams to score if you like. And then Roma under 4.5 goals at minus 115. Vivica Crystal's asking what can be the banker game. Has to be that Verona-Atalanta game for me. Matt, what are you going for?
Same. I think that Verona-Atalanta, both teams to score in over 2.5 is kind of the banker material. But as well as Sassuolo, Lazio, I think that if you were to take both of those, I mean, I would be shocked if you went, 0-2. I think at worst you would go 1-1. I'm on those. Torino, Bologna, both teams to score, minus 117, and Udinese against Milan, both teams to score at 1.8. It's the both teams to score show for me, Martin. And we've been on fire. I mean, when you look at last week, I think combined it was something like, it was a really good record. I don't know exactly what it was, but I know I swept it, and then I think that you went like 4-2 or 5-1. So it was really strong. We've been really strong in this league the last few weeks, so let's keep the momentum going and hope for the best.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, we've actually been crushing Serie A. Serie A has been very good to us, and there's been a lot of high-scoring games. Both teams to score has paid off in a lot of matches, and players are getting tired. Defenders are getting weary at this time of season, so I do expect a lot more high-scoring clashes. Let's hope we can maintain the momentum, like you say. Okay, thank you very much to the Wizard for bringing up the picks. Just going to Jabari Liu there. Lazio versus Galatasaray. If Lazio win this, they can leapfrog Galatasaray and win their group, which means you get automatic qualification to the round of 16 rather than having to go up against a third place team from the Champions League. So yeah, I've got Lazio to win that game. I think they get the job done. Okay, thanks very much everyone for joining us. Thanks all for your great picks on the chat. It's been wonderful. We're going to be back in 27 minutes with the Bundesliga show. So hope to see you all then. Bye.